did not comprehend it. What is the darkness not comprehend the light of Christ?
Right here. But I'd like to mention someone else who also stood here that same day 50 years ago. A man named Asa Philip Randolph. His name is not as well known as Dr. King's. But God, we can bring about social change, and we are a growing voter constituency. Therefore, I invoke our inherent capacity for compassionate action for one another, our neighbors, and our country, which is in sore need of it. Look at us. Really, look around you at the people gathered here today. You are not alone. We are not small in number. We will no longer be silent in this land. Let joy rise up in us as we feel the power and possibility of the good we can bring about together. May it be so.
A lot of misinformation, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take a personal moment to say about the sad news today. We lost the great Muhammad Ali, ladies and gentlemen, who passed away today at the age of 74.
And you might know that over the years, Congress has meddled in our business in ways that are completely inappropriate and awfully annoying. Just in the past 2 years, on issues that are related to freedom from religion, are issues around reproductive health, issues around trying to stop the voucher program in the District of Columbia. And what happens is these members of Congress get lobbied by the churches, get lobbied by religion, and then are asked to change what they're doing in ways that they couldn't do in their own.
We're selling. That's when God's days were numbered. I became an atheist and I started saying so. And with that simple act, I became persona non grata in my own country. Even the Pledge of Allegiance recited every day in school was a reminder to me that you had to believe in God to be a patriot. So after you reach the age of reason, you enter the age of discretion. And that's when you learn to keep quiet about things that make other people uncomfortable. So I became a quiet atheist. It wasn't until 2004, when I was a syndicated newspaper columnist in Florida, that something happened to make me a little less quiet. An atheist was giving the invocation at a Tampa City Council meeting, and 3 council members stormed out in protest rather than hear him speak. One of them said that listening to an atheist even one time could unleash what he called a snowball effect, whatever that means. And he compared it to having unprotected sex. Yes, he was an idiot. So at that point, I was done being quiet.
Justified in body belief if there's evidence for it or if there are logical arguments we can find that support it. But it seems like this in itself is a belief which would require some form of evidence. So if so, I'm wondering what you think would count as evidence in favour of that, and if not, how do we justify choosing that heuristic without appealing to the same standard that we're trying to justify?
So how do we justify, as it were, faith?
Good, because I'm happy to be here. I came here today to lend my support to those who believe like I do, that the only way forward in addressing our problems that we face, whether it be problems in our personal lives, in the governance of our nation, or ensuring the future of our civilization, is not to pray the problems away, but to think the problems away. And what does that mean? Human rights. We are made slaves. We are bought and sold like property. As children, we are made the victims, we are forced to be the victims of pedophiles and raped and beaten at will. And we are even rejected by our families and murdered by our fathers, our brothers, and our neighbors for disobeying their cultural, their religious norms. The more religious a society is, the more it abuses its women. That is so important, I'm going to say it again. The more religious a society is, the more it abuses its women. Do you remember Todd Aiken? He worked in this town. He was a congressman from somewhere in Missouri who said, he actually said, that God has a way to shut down a pregnancy resulting from a legitimate rape. Have you ever heard a more colossally ridiculous statement made? Ever? And it was made by someone who was elected to office and worked in this town. When religious people like Todd Aiken can become members of Congress, we know that women are in grave danger. Yet, it is still largely women who care for the family, who pass on the traditions, and in doing so, they encourage religion. So let's do this. So women, let's make this right. Let's make it so. Thank you.
Hi, hello. Carolyn Porco! Carolyn Porco! That's a great woman to hang on. And I guess apropos of that, first of all, can somebody please make a bumper sticker? Is it too long? More religious society is?
They are fighting to have their religious beliefs exempt from the law and their prejudice elevated above the law. They are doing this at your expense and at my expense. In the coming weeks, you're going to hear some politicians and pundits trying to portray this movement as being anti-religious. It is not. And again, nothing could be further from the truth.
That's a nice t-shirt. And with that, Raise and Rally, can I take a picture?
Noah.
Ladies and gentlemen, a constitutional law professor.
Humid out here. That's good though. Feels like New Orleans weather.
Any words for our Raise and Rally viewers on YouTube?
Oh, yes. Enjoy yourselves and ungodly speed.
Who are you?
From New Orleans. I'm with Snowa.
And you are?
Yvette Parfait, Douglas' wife.
New Orleans, Snowa. Slidell.
Say, what do you got to say? Any message for your mom?
Oh, Mom knows. Actually, the best thing is everybody wants their picture taken with it. So really, it's other people taking pictures, hundreds.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Picture taken with it?
Sure. You're an atheist movie guy?
Yeah, it's a free movie online. Check it out.
Atheistmovie.com.
Atheistmovie.com.
Had the banners here earlier.
I'm sorry?
We had the banners out here earlier.
Are they not? Are they going?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well,
We'll see you then. We'll see you on the screen. You're in it, right?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
All right.
Climate change deniers have set themselves not only against finding science, but against the interests of humanity. And there's even more at stake now. A century ago, religious fundamentalists opposed the origin of species and tried to block the teaching of Darwin, which slowed down advances in medicine and biology. But today, big oil and corporate fundamentalists are threatening the very survival of our species by denying evidence of climate change and stifling the changes in energy policy we need to reverse the lethal dynamics of global warming. Meantime, all over the world, theocratic dictators, jihadist movements, and terrorist death cults like ISIS are working to impose a regime of misogynist, religious repression over human civilization. And to respond effectively, we must tell the world the story of how America broke from theocracy and religious war by protecting both freedom of thought and freedom of worship, both secular government and religious liberty, simply by the ingenious act of separating the church from...
Oh my God, it's hot here! It's like living in soup!
So what is this? What's the message in a nutshell?
Why should I be punished for sin that was committed before I existed?
Well, that's a good idea. Excellent. What should you be punished for?
I should be held accountable for the transgressions that I commit against my fellow human beings, but the punishment should be proportionate to the crime.
Excellent. Excellent. So what does your sign say?
It says, danger. Logic and reason are harmful to faith.
I believe in that.
Yes.
I agree.
So I figured
I wouldn't say believe, I agree. It's a conclusion.
Absolutely. This is phenomenal. I love it.
Wait, what does he got? What's he got to say here? Raise. You know, we're all going to die. Got a sign?
Yeah. I'll do the other side too.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I like this guy.
Hello, people of reason. Over the past 48 hours, many of you joined the Secular Coalition.
Who are you?
My name?
Yeah.
My first name's Quest. My last name's Rich Life.
Right. That's great. And you're here with the Brights?
I identify with them, but I'm a donator and everything. But we're an internet constituency.
Kind of like anonymous.
Well, yeah. I mean, I identify with their approach to things. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for your sign.
You bet.
The rights guaranteed to us by the Constitution will be there for our children. Let me hear from you if you agree with this. In a secular America, the way our founders imagined, a same-sex couple doesn't have to endure the humiliation of being denied service at a restaurant because of who they are and who they love. In a secular America, a woman's right to choose is absolute and is a conversation between only her and her doctor. In a secular America, no one can be banned from the United States just because they are Muslim. In a secular America, openly atheist candidates can run for office and win based on their qualifications and their ability to serve the people that elect them and not because they believe in a God. In a secular America, your right to die with dignity and without pain won't be undermined by your neighbor's religion. In a secular America, public schools don't teach the Christian Bible. They teach evidence-based science, philosophy, and history.
Yeah! All right!
In a secular America, science, reason, and the overwhelming evidence that our planet is warming and our climate is changing won't be brushed aside as a hoax by a senator carrying a snowball into a chamber of that building up there.
Woo!
Clients a month. So we see the direct effect of religious bigotry and discrimination every minute of every day in our emergency beds, because young people continue to get kicked out of so-called Christian homes, in our healthcare clinics, in no small measure because religious ignorance, quality sex education, in our mental health programs, where reparative conversion therapies, protected by and hiding behind religion, leaves our community damaged, often for the rest of their lives. We see LGBT people from all over the world who come to our center, seeking shelter, seeking asylum, from repressive governments who in many cases imprison or kill in the name of religion. It was American Christians behind the Kill the Gays bill in Uganda. In fact, no institution has given more money to fight LGBT equality in this country than religious institutions. The Mormons, the Catholics, the Southern Baptists. From Mississippi to North Carolina, from Indiana to Michigan, from Washington State to some of the very buildings behind us here today in Washington, D.C. So let me be as clear as I possibly can. No Bible, no Quran, nor any religious text supersedes the Constitution of these United States. And while I personally believe that all religion is a myth and that all gods are fiction, professionally, what I want most is for the keepers of this make-believe to keep it out of the public square. Our tax dollars should not be going to any hospital, any school, any institution that chooses to promote their make-believe and myths, any more than we should be subsidizing beautiful human being. Ladies and gentlemen, Liz Winstead!
So everybody wave. Awesome. Thanks. Hi, you guys. Oh my God, I am so thrilled and delighted to be here. I wanted to be here in 2012, and I was doing some work for Lady Parks Justice, which is our organization. Go over in the tent, say hi. But this year, having it be, being a reproductive rights advocate, I don't know if you've heard, but there's some religious pushback on that, and I always find it astounding when we talk about evolution, and if you're on Twitter, it can shake your core value about evolution, because there are a lot of trolls, and you're like, maybe evolution passed some people by, and I think they're on Twitter, because I have many experiences on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. I like to talk about reproductive rights and justice on Twitter, and I also love to live tweet things. And when Bill Nye, the science guy, was debating Ken Ham from the Creation Museum, the debate was whether or not the Earth is 6,000 years old. So I'm on Twitter, and I'm like, the whole thing is sort of awkward because fire was invented 10,000 years ago. So I decided to just tweet that out there, and some people were not psyched, and so all of a sudden in my Twitter mention, someone just says, whore. And I was like, actually I know a lot of sex workers who love science, but, and this is where we differ as reasonable people, is
Before I do that, I want to show you a video. This is a video that maybe this guitar isn't on, just so you know. This is a video maybe you all saw. It's from a show called Ecuador's Got Talent. Any of you guys see this? It was a woman on Ecuador's Got Talent. I want to address it after you've seen this video. This guitar will come on soon, I suppose. And so let's just run the video. This is a video you should all watch of Ecuador's Got Talent. This was this year. Go ahead, can you run the video? God. And she answered very politely, very quietly, with a great deal of grace. She answered no. And then the judge did a rather long attack where she said that Carolina would have no luck in life. She couldn't sing because she didn't have God with her. And without God, she wasn't going to go anywhere. And this girl stood there with poise and grace while this woman attacked her. Then that one judge finished attacking Carolina, and the next judge started. And the next judge started ripping her to pieces for not believing in God. They did not address her song or her singing. They just yelled at her for not believing in God. And she stood there with no apologies. She stood there with, she didn't cry. She wasn't a crybaby about it. She just stood there and looked at these monsters attacking her. Well, the video kind of went around the world and a lot of people saw it. And eventually, I'm very happy to say, the judges who attacked her were fired. They were thrown off the show. But I'm still very, very troubled on how she was greeted and how she was treated on Ecuador's Got Talent, and I thought that maybe, just maybe, this crowd here would treat her a little better. Ladies and gentlemen, Carolina Pena! And speaking of heroes, like Carolina, I was friends with Christopher Hitchens, and you know, Christopher really should be here. And one thing Hitch said to me about the atheist movement, I know he said this in books, and I know he said this in lectures in public, but I want to pretend he said it just to me. He said about the atheists, we have no martyrs, we have no saints. And I thought it was the most profound thing I'd ever heard. So I went home that night. As you all know, I'm not a songwriter, I'm not a guitar player, and I'm not a singer. But I went home that night and I wrote a song called No Martyrs, No Saints for Christopher Hitchens. And Carolina was kind enough to say she'd sing it with me. We're going to sing it in Spanish and in English. Naive Estefan did most of the translation into Spanish. This is a song for Christopher Hitchens, featuring my new friend Carolina. It's for all the atheists. It's called No Martyrs, No Saints. And if you forget, it says it on my guitar strap. Let's go!
Esperanza.
All I have in life is everything. I only know what I can share. There is nothing beyond what I can prove. Hope and faith are never really there. Suffering, but all my own joy. We have no martyrs, we have no saints. We have no martyrs, we have no saints. No cross to bear, but we still have some place. We get depressed, life does get rough, but everything in the world is enough. Fighting for my soul. Good and bad are not a game. The wrong I've done myself. It is my fault. I'll take the blame. And on those nights I have cried. We must find our own way to peace. We count the dead with no God on our side. No perfect plan, no everlasting life. I'm okay with those constraints. All our own suffering, but all our own joy. We have no martyrs, we have no saints. We have no martyrs, we have no saints. Across the land, but we still have some complaints. We get depressed, life does get rough, but everything in the world is enough. Of the farce known as Facilitated Communication, FC, which involves what's now most often called autism spectrum disorder, ASD, a subject that deeply concerns me. The first ever fully identified and defined example of autism was only found in 1941. But humanists and skeptical communities need to be very aware of this, and something must be done about it. The facilitated communication stunt is claimed to be a means of communicating with autistic children and adults.
All right, we'll use this one. Hi, my name is George Robb. How you all doing out there? Fantastic day. What a setting. I mean, this is unbelievable. I look at this view and I just think of this morning. It reminds me of something. Perfect. All right, folks, I want to pull the audience very quickly, very quickly. We're going to do that by applause. One single clap, all together. I want to hear 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 pairs of hands all clap together once. When my hand comes down like this, we all clap together. Are you ready? Let's do it all together. Here we go.
Just last Thursday, the Iranian regime flogged 35 boys and girls for participating in a mixed-gender graduation party. They received 99 lashes each. If everyone agreed with them, they would not need to terrorize populations through indiscriminate violence. There would not be mass migration from countries that they rule. Let's not forget that Islamism has been built on a slaughtered generations of the Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia, often with US government complicity. Girls like 16-year-old Katia. The war is the left apologists. Stop Islamization of America, the English Defense League. They shamefully place collective blame on dissenters, survivors, and victims. Look, I don't blame all Americans for the KKK, the bombing of Iraq, and Donald Trump. So please don't blame me for Islamic terrorism and Islamism. Stop defending, profiling of Muslims, and calling for closed borders when victims who are fleeing Islamists need protection most. After all, this is not just a country of the KKK and Donald Trump. It is also the country of the 1912 Bread and Roses strikes, of Joe Hill, and of a vast, brilliant civil rights movement. Our names, our places of birth, our immigration status. There is an atheist, for example, in every family that is presumed to be Muslim. There are ardent secularists amongst even the most ardent believers, and in the smallest villages, in the furthest corners of the globe. Dissent exists, often loud, proud, and out, despite the risks. Like the unveiling movement in Iran, even though veiling is compulsory and punishable by imprisonment and fines. Or in Rojava, Syrian Kurdistan, where Sharia courts, forced marriages, and polygamy have been banned, and they are tearing down the rules that ISIS imposed on women's veiling.
Hello. Hi.
Identity politics or multiculturalism as a social policy makes it hard to see this immense descent and our common humanity, irrespective of our differences. It's the human being that has rights. It's the human being that should be sacred, not religions, cultures, and beliefs. When I tweeted that I was speaking here, I didn't do it on Facebook because they banned me yet again. Someone challenged me to prove why secularism is better, when according to him, secularism brings AIDS and encourages the rape of women, unlike Saudi Arabia, which is obviously a haven for women. My answer was simple. You have more rights in secular societies, and no one gets legally thrown off of buildings for being gay. That's proof enough for me. Proof enough for me. In fact, secularism is a basic human right, as philosopher A.C. Grayling says. It's often conflated with atheism, but it's not just important for us atheists or religious minorities like Ahmadiyas and Baha'is, women, LGBTQ+, but everyone, including believers. After all, just because one is a believer doesn't mean one wants to live under the rule of the theocrats. The overflowing prisons, the overflowing gallows, the mass flight, unprecedented migration from countries where they rule is evidence of that. When government does God, it imposes religion on us all, says Richard Dawkins. And an imposition is no longer about the right to religion as a private matter, but about control and power. In the world that they want, everybody dies. In the world we want, everybody gets to live. Nonetheless, we are the aggressive secularists, sometimes even, no joke, compared with the Taliban. Don't believe it, it's propaganda. In the world today, it is the secularists who are being slaughtered, not the other way around. They kill, they threaten our free thinkers, and we are accused of being offensive and censored in universities, in the media, by the likes of Ayatollah BBC, by Facebook. Shame on you, Facebook. Shame on you for constantly censoring the pages of Arab atheists, Bangladeshi atheists, Iranian atheists, and ex-Muslims, and by governments. As if cartoons and blasphemy are more offensive than murder. We are accused of denying people's right to religion, when we are merely fighting for a corresponding right to be free from religion, and of course, to live to tell the tale.
Yeah!
When you can be killed for your atheism and for criticism of Islam, criticism, by the way, that is much needed. Normalizing and celebrating apostasy and blasphemy, out loud and proud, are important forms of resistance. They kill, they maim, they kidnap our children, they bomb our schools and marketplaces, and we are accused of being unnecessarily provocative. No, we're just fighting back. We refuse to live on our knees. For many of us, the fight for secularism is a matter of life and death. It's not Western, it's not Eastern, it's universal. That is our message today, from Washington, D.C., to Tehran, to Riyadh, to Dhaka, to Kabul, to Baghdad. We want secularism, and we want it now. Thank you.
Yeah! Yeah!
Good afternoon.
I know it's hot and you're uncomfortable, but show me a little love. Good afternoon. You just don't know how happy I am to be here with you today. The American Humanist Association asked you to come, show you a little love, celebrate what you do and who you are, and let you know wherever you get back to after this, always remember we got your back. I'd like to start with something obvious. This is a special place. That's why some 6 million people make their way to this memorial every year.
Members of the AHA stand with you as you work to promote the good life without God. Get to it, we got your back.
Following my lifelong pursuit of converting religious people back into heathens. And thereby making them happier. You know, when I was a little Catholic boy, we used to say the act of contrition, which began, "Oh my God, I am heartily sorry for having offended thee." And even then I thought, why are we always putting guilt upon ourselves for offending this cartoon character that was made up in the year 1? Among the many things I've never understood about religion is, in a world where we all have enough people above us who we have to answer to, a boss, a supervisor, a spouse, even your fucking kids. For some of us, a parole officer, or in my case, a court-appointed psychiatrist. Whatever, we all have people whose asses we have to kiss to get through life. Why would you then choose to create a completely imaginary person who you live in fear of offending? Aren't we all disappointing enough people in reality? Well, thank you for listening to my message of hope. And please take heart in the knowledge that we are winning, just slowly and not yet. But religion is way down in America. They do a comprehensive survey every 10 years, and Christianity is down 11%. That might not seem like a lot, but if you were the CEO of McDonald's and your market share fell 11%, you'd commit seppuku tomorrow. Now, why is religion down so much? Well, I'd like to think I had something to do with it. But really, I'm like Reagan when the Soviet Union fell. I hoped at the end, but it was ready to go. We're 400 years into the scientific revolution. It's time to put the silly, intellectually embarrassing myths to bed. Thank you for being strong, and keep talking to people about it.
Young woman in Kandahar, Afghanistan, who I've come to know over the last 6 months. I can't tell you her name for her own protection. I'll call her Samara here. But here's her story. At the age of 11, Samara had to leave school because it was too dangerous for a girl to be in school. The first time we spoke on Skype, she related to me something that made me sick. Sure, it was dangerous to go to school, but she said by age 11 she had to leave because already by then the teachers were leering at her seductively. An 11-year-old. Thank God, if you'll use this expression, for the internet. It's because of the internet that Samara had access to the outside. That would have been impossible a decade earlier, but because of that, when she was 14 years old, she managed to get a hold of what's called the Universe of Nothing, which appeared, I think, 6 months before the last recent rally. And then she saw the recent rally on a movie that my friend Gus Loverdo, who's here, directed, called The Unbelievers. And that a lot of people, yeah, Gus, it's a great movie. And somehow she could watch that in Afghanistan, which amazes me. Those two things emboldened Samara to do two things. First of all, she decided she wanted to become an astrophysicist. And second, she realized she was an atheist. And most important, for that film especially, she realized she wasn't alone. And that was particularly important, and I'll come back to that theme in a bit. But over the next 4 years, she worked at home and taught herself advanced high school calculus and physics with a plan to one day leave Afghanistan and study in the outside world. I admit when her pen pal, Emily Roberts, first told me about this, Emily's from Iowa, she asked me if I would Skype with Samara, and I didn't believe the story. But I was so inspired by the possibility that it might be real that I agreed to have our first conversation on Skype, which, by the way, wouldn't have been possible without science. Exactly. I think that deserves applause. Sure, why not? So the first conversation happened when Samara was in Karachi, Pakistan. She'd made the difficult journey there to take the SAT exam. She couldn't take it because her had never taken a standardized test in her life, and she got higher than the US national average. Emily Roberts in Iowa, the remarkable woman who'd become her pen pal and first contacted me, got a local community college in Iowa to accept her, and she helped her along with me in writing an admission essay for a university. I spoke with the president of my university, Arizona State University, which is an entrepreneurial university, and he agreed immediately that we would accept her. Last month, she had her visa interview at the US Consulate in Kandahar, armed with the admission letters, proof of funds, letters of recommendation like my own, and all the other documents she needed. The interview lasted 1 minute, and the visa officer refused her request. For this country, and I can hug her and enjoy the excitement she will have for the first time in her life, being able to enjoy everything the world has to offer. So, it's wonderful. I hope it'll have a happy ending. We don't know yet. But its context in today's rally is important because it leads me to ask some questions. Because this is a reason rally. And it's the freedom to question that we are all really celebrating. That's what this is all about. Questioning. That's what we have to teach children, and that's what Samara was doing. So I want to ask some questions. With a prayer. But Dan Barker was barred from giving a secular invocation. When I flew here today, I brought the New York Times with me and I saw the Freedom from Religion full-page ad. It's an amazing organization, and they're suing U.S. Congress for good reason. Is it reasonable to bar a representative of 23% of the U.S. population from the People's House? How is it reasonable in the 21st century that the state of Kentucky can give $18 million tax break to Ken Ham to build a life-size replica of Noah's, but not widely publicized that his company has requested that 2 of its waterfront properties have the right to build higher retaining walls to combat rising sea levels that are due to human-induced climate change? How is it reasonable that I'm talking about Donald Trump today? How is it reasonable to claim that a small group of microscopic cells have greater rights than the human being they're a part of?
All right!
How is it reasonable that Catholic hospitals can be allowed to choose to let women die rather than end their pregnancies or give them access to contraceptive health care?
I don't know, you tell us!
Standing here in the shadow of the building that houses the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, and in the shadow of Lincoln, how is it reasonable to claim that the denial of fundamental human rights for some people is an act of personal freedom? These questions are unfortunate, and the answer to all of them, of course, is it's not reasonable. And it's caused many people to be resigned to a miserable future. Well, the far future is miserable. Get over it. But we are gathered here today to celebrate the fact that the answer to these questions, while it's a resounding no, we are here because we want the world to know the answer is no. And I don't really mean any disrespect or any pretense here, but I can't resist because of the historical significance of where we are today. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day reason will determine public policy. their full potential by providing them the tools they need to learn and encouraging them to question everything. I have a dream that someday the human rights of all citizens will be equally valued. I have a dream that someday no ideas will be sacred, that there's no idea that cannot be subject to ridicule, satire, and open questioning. I have a dream where religious institutions which use most of their funding to grow their base are taxed like all other businesses. I have a dream where science is not allow such an obscene travesty. More generally, how is it reasonable throughout the world that people are denied basic human rights simply because they are women? How is it reasonable that anyone would want to stop two adults who love one another from the legal right to express that love and commitment and sharing their lives together in the open, regardless of their gender, their religion, their color, or anything else, their shoe size? How can that be reasonable?
It's not.
How is it reasonable to argue, as a father who initiated a lawsuit in Florida did, that children should only use the bathroom that God chose for them? Although it's presumably the same God that intended for them not to be able to enjoy that choice. As my late friend Christopher Hitchens once said, how could a reasonable God require us to be born ill and then command us to be well?
Yay!
Every week, from around the world, who tell me they watched the last Reason rally because of the unbelievers, and they now know they're not alone. But more important, they know they're not bad people, simply because they question the existence of God. But today's rally alone is not sufficient. Some of us on this stage, like me, are fortunate to have a fairly big bully pulpit. But each and every one of you can have an impact on the world. From your schools, your offices, your churches if you attend them, go forth from here and feel emboldened. Don't accept nonsense with silence just because others around you do. Don't vote for candidates who base their claims on ideology alone, whether they're from the left or the right. Speak out openly. Object to teachers who refuse to teach proper science. Don't buy into the idea that it's inappropriate to criticize religious ideas just because they're religious. Feel free to openly ridicule any idea that deserves ridicule. Remember, criticizing ideas is not the same as criticizing people, except in the case of Donald Trump. Openly demand, every place and at all times, equal rights for all people to nurture their own humanity and achieve their full potential as human beings who can think, feel, love, and question. If we carry the excitement of this event today, we'll only do it if we make our voices heard, so that everyone who questions orthodoxy, and in some deep place, that really is everyone on the planet. So all those people will know that they're not alone, that they're not bad people. Only then will the dream of reason as a guide for public policy have a hope of becoming real. If we do all this, then in the words of my good friend, a fellow atheist, Nobel Prize winning physicist Stephen Weinberg, then only then will you be doing God's work. Thank you very much for the privilege once again of being here. Thank you very much.
Aloha. Nothing is more important to me, and nothing was more important to our founding fathers than freedom of religion. The freedom of every individual to follow the spiritual path of our choice or to follow no religion at all. This freedom is enshrined in our Constitution, in our Bill of Rights, which every member of Congress takes an oath to protect, and which so many heroes have given their lives to defend.
You guys need to be back over there. I need everybody to
As a soldier, I served in the Middle East, where I experienced firsthand not only the cost of war, but I came to understand the cause of the endless conflicts that persist today. The cause of these endless conflicts lies in the ambition of various religious sects to control the levers of government and to dominate over those who adhere to other religious beliefs. Shia and Sunni Muslims are vying against each other to establish theocracies or caliphates led by their religious leaders. The Shia theocratic dictatorship of Iran is supporting the cause of Shias, while the Sunni theocracies like Saudi Arabia and others in the Gulf states are backing the Sunni fighters and terrorists like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. In the meantime, Christians, Yazidis, Sufis, and other Muslim and non-Muslim minority religious groups face genocide. People in the Middle East, people everywhere, want peace. But unfortunately, too many fail to recognize that that lasting peace can only be found with pluralistic secular government. What is lacking in the world is aloha. Now, aloha is not just a word that means hello and goodbye. It's a word with a far deeper and powerful meaning. It's a word that really means that you have a deep respect and love for others, regardless of the color of our skin, where we come from, or the spiritual path that we may follow. Whether we're Hindus, Christians, atheists, Buddhists, agnostic, or anything else, that we respect and love each other as brothers and sisters. This is the essence of aloha. When we have aloha for others, we will naturally come to respect that every individual has free will, and thus the freedom to follow the spiritual path of our choice or no spiritual path at all. This recognition of our individual free will and our commitment to individual freedom is the essence of what it means to be an American. We must remember that this nation was founded by people fleeing religious persecution, risking everything to find a place where they could be free to worship as they chose or not to worship at all. With those in Bangladesh and other parts of the world who are building coalitions of Christians and Buddhists and Hindus, atheists, secularists, risking their lives to advocate for pluralism and secularism. Furthermore, we must recognize that here at home, our own nation is not immune to religious bigotry. As we stand here at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial, we can remember how Abraham Lincoln was attacked with accusations that he was not a Christian. When John F. Kennedy ran for president, his political opponents tried to foment religious bigotry based on his Catholicism. And when Barack Obama ran for president in 2007, people accused him of being Muslim, as though that might somehow disqualify him from being president. When Mitt Romney ran for president, there were direct attacks against his Mormon religion. When I first ran for Congress in 2012, my Republican opponent said in a CNN interview that I should not be allowed to serve in Congress because my religion, quote, does not align with the constitutional foundation of the U.S. government. Just last year, Missouri State Auditor Tom Schweik committed suicide after political opponents launched a malicious anti-Semitic whisper campaign against him, saying that he was Jewish. The message that we see in each of these situations is simple: that you will be punished politically for being of the so-called wrong religion. There is nothing more un-American than this. We have a great challenge that lies before us. Let us stand proudly as Americans, as defenders of our Constitution, as defenders of freedom, Let us be inspired by the vision put forward by our nation's founders and challenge those fomenting religious bigotry to do the same. Rather than pour fuel on the fire of darkness, divisiveness, and hatred, let us bring the light found in the Aloha spirit. Respect and love for everyone, irrespective of religion, race, gender, any of the external differences, to our lives, our families, our country, and the world. Let us be inspired by the likes of Muhammad Ali, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, as we join hands, working toward the day when every young American, whether they're Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Christian, Jew, Muslim, humanist, or atheist, can live without fear, with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that our forefathers envisioned for all of us. Let us confront hatred with love, confront bigotry with aloha, confront fear with truth. Let us truly live aloha in our actions, in our words, and in our hearts. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thanks very much.
I love hearing people's stories of how they came to find their own strength within themselves. Isn't that amazing? I think that is so much a part of what we do here and why we're here, is that so often we're taught to look outward to find strength, and then that outwardness, whether it be religion or something else, is used to manipulate our own personal power.
Anyone who wants to use religion or pseudoscience to manipulate and damage the scope of human freedom. Senator McQuarrie CFI has played a critical role in saving the lives of atheist bloggers around the world, particularly in Bangladesh. We have been an integral part of the effort that brought the truth about climate change to the general public. In successfully participated in getting the FDA to warn the public about the hazards of supposed